Good afternoon. My name is Alan Cron. I'm Superintendent of Schools in Rockland, and I have brought together today some very special coaches and educators just for a little conversation. I have with us boys varsity basketball coach Fred Damon, Diana Mitchell, varsity girls basketball coach, our cheerleading coach Janine Reardon, and our hockey coach Mike Flaherty, and our athletic director Gary Graziano. And I brought them together because we had a very unique season this year. We had our basketball teams win the division. We had our hockey team win the division. We also had our wrestling team win the division. Mr. Brown couldn't be with us today. And I just thought it was an interesting opportunity to bring together these coaches and talk a little bit about what they do and what has created this unusual success, or at least what I consider to be unusual success for a relatively small school in a very competitive league. So I'd like to begin by asking, actually I'll start with Mr. Damon. When we talk about coaching, I think of it that we're really talking about leadership. And I'm wondering if there are any lessons that you've learned in your coaching career that could provide some folks with tips.
Sure. Yeah, you know, everybody hears the word coaching and you think X's and O's, whether it's basketball, hockey, whatever the situation may be, and you think it's just about strategy and schemes. When you're dealing with teenagers and student athletes, coaching takes on a whole new role. There are a lot of other dynamics involved with it when you're trying to get the kids to optimize what their potential is. So, you know, the first thing that I look at, is, and I think leadership is a good word, because we express to all of our kids, and I know everybody's the same, but for the basketball team, that they are a student athlete first. Their first responsibility is to get here and get their education, and that all of them are leaders. You know, everybody, a captain, I always say captain is just nothing but a letter C on somebody's jersey. A leader is someone who exemplifies what the program should stand about, what the school should be about, and yes, it's great with the wins and losses, but I think, you know, the best feeling that I have as a coach, obviously winning the league is a great feeling, but it's when you get the respect of other teams and other coaches, referees, telling how Rockland kids are, how, you know, how it's such a nice place to come and play a game. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. I learned from a long time ago that when I first got the head coaching job, even though being a coach, this is my 27th year coaching, the last 13 as varsity coach. When I got the varsity job, I thought it was all coaching. And I remember Bob Fisher telling me, you got to remember when you become a varsity coach, you're dealing with kids who now have their license, they now have girlfriends, they now have jobs, so there's a lot of dynamics that go into it, and getting the kids to balance that schedule is a lot of work on both parts, both the coaches and the players.
Yeah, excellent. I'd like to skip over to Janine Reardon. As cheerleading coach, you've won the league, the region, the state for going on, this is year?
We've won the state 7 state titles.
7 state titles in a row. How do you account for such year after year after year? Because I've been to those meets. This is a very competitive, we're talking the difference between a toe pointed this way or that way or a flip. How do you account for your success year after year?
Well, I agree really with what Fred said. I do expect out of every single team member they all have the same opportunity, whether you're a freshman or you're a senior. You don't get special privileges. I expect them to lead by example and do the best they can do. And I think my biggest goal is making them get along with each other and being good role models in the school, as well as working the hardest they can work every single day. So win or lose, they know I'm happy with giving 110% 24/7.
Dr. Cron, if I could just mention Janine's program, from what I've seen and comments people have made, Janine treats the girls like athletes, treats the sport as if it's a sport, not an activity. They work as hard as anyone, and when it comes to 9 through 12, she puts the best player or person on the floor when needed for a competition. And you know, she's from Rockland. She was an athlete, a very good athlete. And people have asked me, why doesn't she coach a boys' sport if she's that good? In the last few months, they're like, you know, Janine, maybe she should take a boys' sport because she's so good at it. Yeah. And that's a nice compliment that I had just heard the last few months.
Absolutely. Mike, you had an incredible year. What stands out for you about this season? Why different?
This
Why
is
so far? Farthest in the tournament in school history?
This team was, they were special. They were a complete team. I've had teams that have been probably more skilled and more athletic, but from day one, this group, they all pulled for each other. They never got arrogant. We went on a 14-game unbeaten streak. They never expected to lose, but they weren't arrogant and they weren't cocky about it, and they cared for each other. They really pulled for each other. It was a phenomenal experience. It's one that in my 9 years has never been equaled as far as a team. They're phenomenal kids. We only have 21 kids. And when you look at some of the programs we go up against, Hanover's got 60-something kids. Norwell's got 40, 50 kids. Cohasset's probably in the same boat we are, but some of the teams we go out and play are upwards of 50 and 60, 70 kids going over our team. We've got 20. And this group they wouldn't be denied. They just refused to be put down. It was a phenomenal experience.
Excellent.
And I think they broke most of the hockey records for games won in a row, points against.
We set numerous records
A
this
few
year.
of them.
Yeah, least losses in the season, most wins in the season, highest winning percentage ever. We had 7 South Shore League All-Stars. We had 6 Brockton Enterprise All-Scholastics. We had Boston Herald All-Scholastic. So we broke a lot of records this year. It's all because that group was just such a complete group.
Excellent. Diana, talk a little bit about what's it like. First of all, congratulations, you were named Coach of the Year for the second time, right? Second
Yes.
straight year.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about what it's like working with Rockland kids.
It's pretty much all that I know. Being from here and being a Rockland kid myself, I think they are a different breed. Talking to people that teach in Rockland that coach in a different town, they say that Rockland's a different type of kid. They're hardworking. They're focused, which is pretty hard this day and age, especially with high school age kids. And they do what you ask, and that's I think that's a huge thing. Is that I think that we could ask our kids to go and do anything, on the court or off the court, and they have a respect factor, and they'll do pretty much anything for you, and I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah. Here's a question for anyone who wants to grab it. Winning, right? At the end of the day, you look at you want to win games. It's good for the kids, it's good for the town, good for the school. How much of winning is motivation? How much is coaching, and how much is raw talent?
For us, I'm speaking from my perspective. Just to follow up a couple points when I've heard everybody talk, I think we have to realize what a unique and special thing is happening here, because when you look at it, from Mr. Graziano to Flats to Janine to Diane to myself, you're talking all kids who went to Rockland High, all kids who played sports here. Now
Tim
all
Brown as
kids.
well.
This
Tim Brown
doesn't,
as
Tim
well.
Brown doesn't exist, I would bet.
Yep.
In the entire state,
No
you
way.
would not get a whole winter staff, including the athletic director, all being from Rockland.
Yep.
And it's a tribute to these people staying here and giving back to the community,
Mhm.
because it doesn't happen anywhere else.
No.
And we win, but to answer part of your question, we win sportsmanship awards, we get Players of the Year award. That doesn't happen either, because usually the sportsmanship goes to the default teams. Like, they weren't very good, so let's vote for them.
Yeah.
Diana was second place or first place?
First place.
First this year. Mike was second, tied for second. And wrestling was second place. And it just happens here, and it's so unusual. People
Yeah.
really need to understand that and take it in.
Well, I'm a leadership junkie. I think of leadership. Leadership is it's coaching. It's trying to get people to work together, going in a common direction. When I had this idea, it was because you as coaches, you guys are why Rockland is special. It's not just programs are usually built around a person, when that person goes away, the whole program changes, so the leadership is so important. And I thought, wow, how neat it would be to really highlight that fact. And your point is excellent. Where on earth would you have an entire coaching staff that went to school there, some who still live in town, have extended family, and had that kind of success, right?
Yeah.
It's very unique.
And I also think, you know, when we got the jobs, and I know, you know, we come in after coaches that have been there. You know, I took over for Ms. Lannon, who was there for 30 years.
Right.
You know, and, you know, come in after Mr. Fisher, who was there for, you know, I don't know his number, but, you know, people come and they stay, and they, you know, and they want to be a part of it, and I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And Freddie and Diana could have gone anywhere. Freddie went to BC, Diana went to Merrimack, you know, made a conscious decision to come back, get a math teacher job, wants to coach. Then she got her phys ed certification. Could have gone anywhere in the country, either one of them, and they end up back in Rockland. I hope they don't regret it, but we're glad we have them.
Right.
Never.
So how much, back to that question about motivation,
Yeah.
coaching, and talent.
Yeah.
Where,
If I have a thought on it. My thing is, especially, and to follow up with the Rockland theme, I tried to explain to my kids, we had a great year last year. We were undefeated in the league. I said, you have to realize you have a bullseye on your back, and I think all of us do, just with one word, and that's Rockland. It's teams and programs make their season. They could have the worst record. I'm speaking, Raz and I were together for 20 years coaching football as well. You know, when they made their season if they could beat Rockland in football, basketball, hockey, whatever it is. And after this year we've had, and I know Janine's seeing it now with the cheerleading, because my sister's in Whitman, and Whitman's an up-and-coming program, and all they do is talk about Rockland. So, you know, that's a lot of pressure that, and never mind as coaches, but kids have. I think the kids have to realize everyone out there wants to beat you. They make their mark if they can beat Rockland. So, and the thing I've always respected about our kids and our programs is we are not the most athletic. We are not the biggest. We are not the quickest. We're not the most skilled hockey player or basketball player. What I've always tried to thrive on is that we have tough kids who run through a wall, who listen to their coaches, and good things happen when they work hard. So to me, yeah, raw talent is great. That's great, you know, but you look at Rockland's history with girls basketball, boys basketball, you know, we had Mitch and Kerry Flynn who made their mark, but most of our kids are not college level players. But to me, so raw talent would be great. If we could have a 6-7 kid, they could revert, you know, we had Tyler Gibson, that was a great thing for us to have, but most of our kids fall into a mold of a certain type of kid. So to me, raw talent's very small. I think it's motivation, and I think also buying into what your coaches say. And I think it's easy for the kids because it's that old saying, been there, done that. We've all, as we all said, we've all been here at Rockland, but we all played sports here. We all went through these programs. We know what it takes to be successful. So, and I think the kids buy into it.
Feeder programs, youth football, youth basketball. Janine's involved in the cheering program. Mike's always does skills with the younger kids in hockey, so everybody has their hand at it. And they're teaching the same thing, goals and values that we all have. I mean,
And middle school phys ed, all we do is play basketball, so.
she's changed the curriculum. Okay, that's not true, but we have really good adults, parents helping out in town with the feeder programs.
I believe kids imitate your actions more than what you say. We can all say do this, do this, do this, but they really learn boundaries by watching how the adults who are leading them behave, I think. So can you think of any situations where you feel that you could sort of share a scenario where you feel like you really laid down expectations about something and then you never had to say it again? Can you think of anything? Or is it just a day-to-day?
I think for us, the hockey program, the kids are given the boundaries day one, and they adhere to them. They accept them. You know, we're demanding on them, but not to a point where it's overbearing. And for the 9 years I've been here, we've had very few instances where we've had kids cross that line. And I've been lucky enough that I've been surrounded by excellent assistant coaches and support systems that these kids, they adhere to it and they abide by it. And they know that if they cross that line, there's going to be ramifications for it. And it goes back to the Rockland kid. I think Freddie said, the Rockland kid is a hardworking kid. They want to prove to everybody that they belong where they belong. And we have giant bullseyes in our back, so even if you do cross that line, it's magnified even more. And for me, situations for us, it's like when we're on the bench, and I'll go into a tournament game this year. There were certain things that were going on that could have escalated my bench, and my guys just sat there, acted like professionals, and just finished the job, and nothing came of it on our side.
Right.
And I was incredibly proud of those guys. It could have escalated, it could have got ugly, but they really held themselves in. And I was proud. It was good to see.
One of the first times I ever saw Mr. Graziano in action, it was the end of a football game against a team who had lost all season, and then they beat us. It was toward the end of the season, and Mr. Graziano was running out on the field, and to unpack the whole thing, he had seen a couple kids on the other team. They were all celebrating. Our kids were upset, very emotional. He ran out there to be a presence, to make sure that the kids kept themselves together and did the handshake without anybody, going nuts. And I remember how profoundly that affected how I thought of Mr. Graziano. Proactive, setting sort of the example for how we want to behave. So let me jump over to Mr. Graziano since I'm talking about him. You're a leader of leaders. Your attitude toward athletics and sportsmanship and fairness and skill really affects everyone else's. Is there some common trait other than they're all from Rockland? Is there anything that you think all of our coaches, and again, Mr. Brown isn't here, and
I think the kids respect them so much. I think the parents respect them. When the kids leave practice, they don't just walk out the door. They shake the coach's hands. Doesn't happen everywhere. I don't receive a lot of phone calls from parents complaining about certain situations, and we don't have to discipline our kids a lot or ever compared to other schools in our leagues, and their characters aren't questioned. An example of that would be if our kids are nominated for an all-star team, the coaches all get together and say they have to vote for an all-star. Well, they'll vote on their ability and their character. Often, more than often, they have to pull kids off because people say, I'm not voting for that kid because of the way he conducted himself in the game. So we just went through this winter. And it probably even involved a kid who might have been player of the year. He didn't get it because of the way he conducted himself. Now that's the coach, the AD, the parents are all responsible for the way that student conducts himself on a basketball court in a small setting where everybody can see him. Football's different. It's a big football field. They have helmets on. But basketball, wrestling, hockey, close. Everybody's watching their actions. So coaches have the opinion, and I don't have to deal with that. I've never had anybody pulled in or questioned on their ability. In the last 2 years, we have the Players of the Year for boys and girls basketball. Should have for hockey this year with
Yes, we
having the
should
best goalie almost probably in the state, and he didn't get that, but he's gotten a lot of awards and recognition for it. But I don't have to deal with things that other people in my league and around the state have to deal with. And that's a tribute to the parents and the coaches here. So I guess ultimately they respect them. Whatever they say is going to go, and they're doing it for the right reason. And I don't really care about wins and losses. I care about how everything goes and what they're learning from it. The wins just happen to come, which is great.
right. Janine, how do you motivate? When you think about motivating your kids, how do you do it?
Well, like I said, so we have, I give each athlete an equal opportunity, whether you're the most skilled on the team and the least skilled on the team. And as a group, we do work to, sometimes I feel like some of the less skilled athletes are probably my best motivators because they work so hard for me and themselves, not just for me, but they really, really work over and above where they are. And once again, my captains know I do have a captain because I think you always need one on the team, but leading by example, as I said before, is a huge I guess, policy, I would say. I don't even know if it would be a policy, that is just something that I encourage and make them do. So motivation is hard when you, sometimes, people get down on each other and, there isn't a good vibe in the practice, but, we always tend to just lean on the kids to just pull themselves together and, come back tomorrow with a better attitude.
Excellent. How do you think about motivation?
But especially in basketball, where basketball is such a skilled sport, and I think, I know for girls, our numbers aren't very high, and I only have 2 seniors this year, and we talk about that. We say, how many people were, on your town and travel, and the numbers keep getting smaller every year because it's hard work, and it's hard work to stay with it till you're a senior, and a lot of kids don't, and so, the ones that we do have say, you're going to put in all this time, you might as well get the best out of it. Why do we go and we play all during the summer and our fall leagues and everything if you're not going to, go out and give it 100% every single day?
Right.
So, I think that's just their own motivation, is that they put in that time. They want to see the best results possible, and even have some, girls that are on the team that basketball is not their number 1 sport, but no matter what, they're going to give it 100% for those people that it is their number 1 thing. Whether they're a soccer player or a lacrosse player, whatever, they're not going to slack off, during practice or during a game and say, I don't care that much.
Right.
And I think that's, something great that they all do for each other. So.
Yeah, one of the first things that was said was about motivation was this idea of student leadership and the seniors driving some of the. Do you find that leadership always comes from the older kids?
No.
No.
I don't.
Nope. For us, it came from my seniors, my juniors, they're my older guys, but some of my sophomores even. A kid like Daniel McHugh, who missed all last year, was a tremendous leader for us this year. Very quiet, but goes out and works hard every day, competes, and the kids respected him. For us, it was top to bottom. And that's generally how we are every year. It's nice to have those 2 captains or 3 captains, whatever we have.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get a quiet captain who just leads by example, and sometimes you get the rah-rah guy. And I try to mix that up a little bit, but all of a sudden that kid was maybe your 3rd line kid for us. He's a kid in the bench that's vocal. He's a kid that's out there working in practice, pushing the top 2 lines, things like that. So for us, it comes from everybody pretty much.
I think we all agreed it doesn't just have to be a senior, and Diana had, the younger girls, Freddie and Janine also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had 1 senior captain, 2 juniors, and a sophomore, and they're voted. I know that we all probably do captains differently, which I think is great. The girls they submit to me their votes, and they have to give the reasons why that they want their teammate to be the captain. So it's all, how they view each other, and they know that going into the year that, if they want to be it, they show it to their teammates,
Right.
first of all, so.
Right. The other thing that came up earlier was this idea that, I'm a basketball coach, I'm a cheerleading coach, I'm an athletic director, but it's not just whatever I'm teaching. It's not basketball or the skills. It's really probably more of everything else. If you can get the distractions set aside so they can focus on the skill, much the same as, I may get a call later saying, well, why don't you do this with the math department, and why don't you do this? We could, because we are primarily an educational institution. So people are saying, well, why pay so much attention to coaches? I do that because we, as an educational institution, we are not just teaching math and science and English and history. We're teaching life skills. And I know for a fact that our graduates who are come through your programs are forever better for having been a part of your program, and therefore the school, is better. I'm wondering what you think about that.
I think whether it's getting the student ready to go to college or going to the service, We have a few kids, the last few years, they've gone into the Marines. Notably, I think there's maybe 4 or 5 of them. All athletes, all pretty good students. I know they're doing well because they played either hockey for Mike or basketball, football for us, all of them. And they said it. It was easier. I'm more disciplined. You know, I knew what they expected. It was going in is like being coached once you get to the Marines or any armed service. And whether they're going to college, they know they have to, they're from Rockland, they're going to toe the line. They have to work hard, maybe harder than most kids, and you know, have a job while they're in college. But they've learned that through us and how they're going to be successful. And it's through sports, athletics. It's a combination of everything.
I learned that by, you know, being here, and the teachers and the coaches that, you know, I've had for any sport throughout high school, I think was, you know, a direct reflection of, first of all, we're all back here,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And things that I learned playing for these coaches, and, you know, the leadership that we have, you know, again, we've had great athletic directors, and I think that they believe in us, we believe in them, and that trickled down, you know?
When I first came to begin as principal at the high school, some colleagues of mine said to me, just make sure you have a good athletic director, because as a high school principal, if your athletic director doesn't really have it together, or if they're not good at saying no, you know, no, then your high school principal and your superintendent can spend a tremendous amount of time talking about things like socks, you know, and so I'm always appreciative of Mr. Graziano, because I know that he has a lot of difficult conversations, as I'm sure you do, as head coaches.
I'm starting to slip in my old age, but these guys make me look good. They remind me of things I forget.
Right. I want to thank you all for coming together and sort of fulfilling my sort of out of the blue request. But it just came to me that it's an amazing season, but it's not for Rockland. I mean, and I feel like even if you didn't all win the league, you still are having the same kind of positive effect on the whole school environment. As Mr. Graziano knows, I had a spectacular high school athletic record, and that's why I was in the band. But I learned
that
those.
quiet.
I learned those lessons in a very well-developed music program. We have kids who are doing the filming right now, or learning about television and video in a similar way. We have students who I'm sure are being mentored by teachers in the math department. So I just wanted to take a minute to sort of celebrate this and to highlight your accomplishments, congratulate you, and to thank you,
And Alan,
most importantly.
you know, we kind of skipped over wrestling, but I mentioned Freddie and Diana. Wrestling, you know, won the league 2nd year in a row.
Yeah.
They also had Wrestler of the Year, John Good. So we had the 3 players of the
Amazing.
year.
Yeah.
In cheerleading, you know, she's won 7 championships.
Crazy.
Her daughter's a cheerleader at Coastal Carolina,
Yeah.
Division I school. You get to go down and watch Division I games and your daughter, which is a wonderful thing. And
Yeah.
you know, Mike gets to coach his son, and Freddie, although didn't get to coach his son, got to watch his son win a state championship, which we've both done as coaches. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So it was a great winter, and it's not just athletics, wins and losses. It's, you know, what are the kids getting out of it?
Yeah.
And they're in good hands.
They
Yeah.
are.
Just an asterisk on that. Hanover won the state championship. It was Rockland coaches, so just put that out there. Just saying
I-
that.
you
In a
know,
Rockland bloodline with my son, so that's the reason why. Rockland spreads everywhere.
And
I'm telling you.
the last trivia question is, Janine was never a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Really?
Isn't that unbelievable? No.
Yeah. Well, the wrestling program, you bring that up. When I first came, the wrestling, we didn't have a wrestler in every weight class.
Right.
Yeah.
Tim Brown's been here how long now? 4 years?
No, a little longer than that.
10, 11.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But it went down
We were-
because
yeah,
the
we were-
popularity of the sport, the
Oh, yeah.
popularity. He's always fighting against basketball and being from outside the school. And then when Peter Harrison, one of a Rockland kid, joined wrestling, then became a coach.
Yeah.
Now you have 2 Rockland kids, and Peter is in a football staff. He's bringing football players
Right.
to wrestling.
Right.
It's built back up. We co-op with Abington,
Right.
and people don't want to wrestle us in our league anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, thank you. I don't know if you have any closing I'm sure you all are appreciative of your parents and the support that you get, because I know you don't do it alone. Just getting to and from games. I know the amount of fundraising for hockey is unbelievable. And you're-
My parents do a phenomenal job. They're nonstop, and
And your wife's a big help.
my wife's a giant help. She really is. I mean, she does a lot of the legwork with a lot of other people, but for us, it's ice time and everything else. If we don't have their support, we don't have the program we do. And for the kids, it starts at home. I'm just a byproduct. I get the byproduct of what starts at home, which is great to see.
We're all fast asleep when Mike's practicing in the morning.
Yeah, I know, right, yeah.
Even with that whole parent comment, I think that, the support that we get from our parents is support that I know that we still get. I see, your parents at games, your,
Right.
mother at games. My
Yeah.
parents, don't miss a game.
Right.
And I think that, our kids see that,
Right.
and our kids' parents, see that. And I think that is a great thing, and, just to show that parent support for everything.
Yeah. Well, it's a very special place, and all of you, each of you are a big part of that, so thank you.
Thank you.
And that goes for all the coaches who aren't here. I think they all work very, very hard, and that's in addition to teaching their class and whatever else they do. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Cron signing off.